Why do I have huge eye bags? What are you gonna do? Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. In this video I am going to be explaining to you how I take my Instagram photos and also some of my Etsy product photos, because for a very long time I actually took a lot of my Etsy photos on my camera phone. I have a iPhone 7 Plus and I got this for this very reason, for Instagram and for my Etsy, because it has a dual camera on the front. But I did have an iPhone 6 Plus before that, and you will see a lot of them on my Etsy store at the moment. I now use DSLRs mixed with iPhone photos. I would say they're about 50-50 at the moment, but if you scroll before Christmas on my feed, you will see the majority of my photos that I took were on iPhone exclusively. I just found it a lot easier to use the apps and a lot quicker for me to get it out there. However, now I'm getting a little bit anal. That was the wrong word to say. I get a little bit funny about how my Instagram feed looks, and I will actually be doing a second video regarding that and how I get my pastel aesthetic theme on my Instagram, because it's not just a case of putting up the photos and wishing for the best. There is apps that I use to get a coherent theme, because what I found was I was putting photos on my Instagram and I didn't like how it looked on my grid, so I'm going to make a separate video about how I plan my Instagram photos and how I get that pastel aesthetic on my Instagram. But for this video I'm going to be talking you through how I take my product photos and my Etsy photos and my Instagram photos on my iPhone. I do use my DSLR sometimes, but this is a very simple edit, because all I do with my DSLR camera is I'll set up the photo exactly the same way as I do with my iPhone. I'll then put it in my computer, do very simple editing because I believe less is more. I'll heal out any blemishes that need healing out. I then use curves to brighten my photos on Photoshop, and then I use colour balance just to balance out any yellow or cyan or blue tints to my photos to get that balance that I like personally. Now I will say everyone's Instagram is going to be different, and I think that's a really good thing, because you want a theme that suits you, your brand, or just you as a person if it is just a personal feed. So this is just how I do it personally, and yours can be very different from this, and I think that's a good thing. But I'm just going to show you how I do it. Hopefully you learn something in the process, I'm not sure. Oh, did you see that eye twitch then? Hopefully you learn something in the process and it might help you up your Instagram game. So let's get to it. Okay, so as you can see, it is a nice sunny day outside, but the sun isn't shining directly into the room, which is a good thing, because ideally you want a bright and cloudy day to start. I have a desk here. Oh, hi Des. I do everything on, including a lot of my product photography. So I have this really super cheap light that I bought off eBay and Amazon. However, 2 years or a year and a half I did not use this light at all. I just use natural light. But the reason I invested in this is because you can see I've got a very small window and I don't get a lot of light to this room. My tip to you guys would be to utilise natural light as much as possible. Natural light is your best friend when it comes to product photos and Etsy photos, because it offers a really nice subtle natural lighting that's very bright, hopefully on a bright day. Not a sunny day, a bright cloudy day is ideal. You can even take your photos outside if it is a cloudy day, and it casts a beautiful light, because I don't like harsh shadows on my photos. I like to eliminate shadows, and I'll also show you a trick that I use to eliminate shadows using a simple mount board. So here I have a pile of some of my photography props. This is the mount board I use to reflect light back onto my subjects, and as you can see it just brightens up the whole subject. So if I was taking a photo flat on like this, that's without the white mount board, and that's with it, and as you can see it is considerably brighter, and it eliminates that dark shadow that's by my phone just that bit more. So that is a great tool to use, and you can just basically prop this up, bounce it back from your light source, and it kind of reflects that shadow back and gives the subject matter a really bright and pretty photo. This literally was so cheap from Hobbycraft, I think I got it from, and it's like a foam board. It was A3 size, and it literally cost about £3, and it is very good for taking photos. So if you haven't got a bounce back light like me, I use this, and I still use it now if I can't be bothered turning that on because I'm lazy. I still use this to bounce back the subject light so you don't have that dark shadow. So here is just some sheets of paper. To be honest, I don't use this because it's a bit too bright, but these are just papers that I use for my backdrop. And a great tip would be to go out to B&Q or whatever home supply store you have near you and get sample wallpapers. This was literally a sample wallpaper that I've used for a lot of photos. As you can see, it's a bit worse for wear now because I've used it that often and it gets rolled up and stored. But it offers like a stony background, and it is really good for taking product photos. And there are so many wallpapers and things out there that you could use to take product photos. So have an experiment and see what works for you, your products in your Instagram feed. And then I've just basically got plain pieces of paper. Now I use these quite often, and I just lay these down. I'll show you an example setup front on. I'm not really doing a good job of this, guys, but it should give you an idea. And then I get my mount board. So yeah, that's basically how I use my paper. You can also play around with different angles, play around with different, you might want the full thing, like so. Just whatever you fancy. It makes a great backdrop. There again, from a Hobbycraft or a hobby craft store or something like that. This is so popular, how could I not get it? This one is a little bit dark for my liking, and I have bought this vinyl contact paper and I have rolled it out and stuck it down, and that is all that is. That also can be a nice backdrop. And we all know marble has been a huge hit in 2016, 2017. To me, it's a little bit overworked now, but a lot of people still use it. I still use it occasionally. So you can buy these super cheap. I think they're about £6 a roll where I'm from B&Q. So what I do is I prop up this big pink mount board, prop it up like this, and I put my subject, which is normally a mug or something, just here, and I take obviously the picture standing here looking at my subject. So let's just do a little sample shoot using some props that I have lying about in the studio. And there is kind of different shoots you can do. You can do kind of these detailed shoots like this at an angle, or you could do one overhead for a flat lay. Let's get some copy markers, whack them in there like so, and then you could get a head-on shot like this, or you could do an angled shot like this, or this. Just take a few, see how you feel. I like flat lays because they look pretty, and you can just basically grab any props that match your theme of your Instagram or whatever you're going for and take the photo. So I'm just going to open the camera feed. I'm just going to take a photo above, maybe one at an angle, and then I'm going to put my mount board to see if that looks any better. So as you can see, big shadows are being cast on the side of my diary, on the side of my glasses. There's a very dark gradient coming in this way from the darkness of the room. So then I'll get my mount board, ta-da! Like freaking magic. How good is that? Before, after. Even you can tell on the camera, and I haven't even edited it. Look at that. It just makes editing so much easier because it's really hard to get out dark shadows like that. and it totally transforms your picture, and it means you don't have to edit them as much because look how good that looks. Ta-da, 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 ta-da. So if you're going to take anything from this video, go out and buy some foam board, okay? Oh freaking yeah! Okay, I'll stop now. Okay, so I now have my photos that I have just taken. I'm going to select one of them and open the apps that I use. I have a section on my iPhone that says photo and video, and it has all the apps that I use for editing my photos, but I primarily stick to VSCO or VSCO Cam. So let's go into it. Now I'm going to edit it. Now I bought the subscription pack of filters, which means I have all the filters available from VSCO Cam, but to be honest I use hardly any of them. I use the same filters for a lot of my photos, and you will probably find that you will use certain filters that go with your theme. But first, before I add a filter, I go and I expose my image because I like mine really bright, but as you can see it gives this washed out look. But then I go into contrast and I increase the contrast like so. Now I believe less is more, guys, so I try not to rely on heavy filters, but a good filter hides a multitude of sins sometimes. I photo just a little bit and you can see the difference, but because we use that mount board, the lighting is already quite nice without any editing, which is what you want to go for. The less editing the better. So then I go ahead over to temperature. You get a lot of other tools here like XSkew, YSkew, but I don't need that. But I go ahead over here to temperature. Now I like my photos with a very heavy blue kind of white feel. So you can either go orange, as you can see, or you can go blue on this scale. So I end up just trying to eliminate the yellowy tones. I also do this in Photoshop with colour balance, which is a more detailed tool to do this, which makes any yellowy tones kind of be eliminated from the photo. If you take it in fluorescent lighting, I really don't recommend you doing that, but if you don't have an option, turning it to kind of a bluer tint will eliminate that very yellowy cast that you get from fluorescent lighting, but it will mess up with the colours. So I really highly suggest either studio lighting or natural daylight is your best friend. So that is all I've done for that photo, so I'll save that. For my second business, Baby Blue, I like to use HB1 and HB2. These come free and they add like this bluish cast. What you have to be careful with using HB1, HB2 or any filters is obviously if you're selling products, it will change the colours of the products. So be very careful with that. I wouldn't recommend putting filters over the top of product photography. So if this was going to be a flat lay on your Etsy store, I would go back and I would take this filter off and just use this. Oh, it's suddenly gone bright outside. So yeah, I really hope this video helped you somewhat and gave you a little bit of an insight to how I take my Instagram photos and also some of my Etsy product photos. I'm now trying to move over to a DSLR camera. I have the Nikon D3000 with a 35mm lens. I also have the Canon 700D EOS, I think it's called, with a 50mm lens and the standard 1855mm lens, which is what I'm recording off now. I use my iPhone for product photos on Etsy, and in fact there is still product photos on there from my iPhone, and there is nothing wrong with that. If that's all you have and you don't have a DSLR, there is no reason why you can't use a decent smartphone to create beautiful product photos, Instagram photos and such like that. But I really hope this video was somewhat helpful to you. The big tidbit I would get out of this would be to purchase a £3 mount foam board thing to reflect the light back on. If you have a better space for natural lighting, say you've got French doors or you've got a huge window, I would suggest going there. Try and avoid direct sunlight. You can also use wallpapers, your home wallpapers, if you've got a really nice wallpaper as backdrop. You can use flooring for nice flat lays, rugs, if you've got a nice rug in your house, you can use that. Get experimental with you and your style, and then you will develop a style over time. It didn't come naturally for me. I was getting inspiration from other Instagrams first before I developed my style on Instagram and found what worked for me and my products. I quite like the minimalist, clean look, but with massive pops of pastel colour, obviously. So yeah, if this video was helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It sounds so cheesy saying that, but I have to say it just so that I know I'm doing something right. Obviously nothing happens if you do give it a thumbs up. I just like to know that it was helpful in some way, shape or form. And if you have any questions for me that you want to ask in the future, or you would like me to record future videos, leave a comment in the description below and I will get back to you all the time. Well, that's it for this video. Watch out for next week's video, which is going to be about how I plan my Instagram posts and get that nice aesthetic themed look. Goodbye guys, I love you, bye, love you, bye.